the Shrine sample pack, which is probably like the most used and shared sample pack in Liquid, at least. Like
I still don't believe that. I still don't believe that.
And we're on. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Last Week Liquid podcast. Today I have the immense pleasure of sitting down with Joshua, better known as Alexvnder. Josh is a drum and bass producer from the US, with releases across the likes of Celsius, Terra Firma and Glitch Audio. In late 2019, he announced he was stepping away from the drum and bass scene to focus on his synthwave alias, Vintage Real. However, after nearly 2 years of inactivity, a subtle change in his Facebook profile picture got the drum and bass world speculating at a potential comeback. And today, it is with great pleasure that I can confirm the return of the mighty Alexvnder. Welcome to the show, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. That was one hell of an intro, man.
Am I
awesome.
Hyping it up a bit too much? Or?
It's a lot. No, it's a lot. It definitely is. So I guess it's no secret that I ended up leaving, and there was an incident that recently occurred, and I'll refer to as an incident because it was completely unintentional. But I did update my profile picture on my Facebook page to not really to tease that I'm making a comeback, but it was. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to update the picture on an inactive account. So, the rumor that I am bringing Alexvnder back is 100% true. And we could get into the reasoning for that in a little bit, but I didn't know that Facebook was going to make a post about it when I updated it. So it kind of spilled the beans on that. And I didn't realize it until after a lot of people had already engaged on the post, and I started getting notifications. It was kind of a snowball effect. Like I can't delete it now.
Yeah,
so many people have seen it. It's kind of, that is what it is now. So that's sort of what. And you mentioned Vintage Real, which is another alias that I kind of just let die off. I guess I haven't been too active on that account either. It's been kind of, ever since leaving Alexvnder, it's kind of been a crazy time for me personally, and in my personal life, and in music as well. So. I did have plans on taking that account seriously, and I still do, but I've definitely fallen off of that one too. Haven't released anything in a while. But
I'm definitely curious. Obviously, we're gonna chat a bit about why you left, how you decided to come back, but I think also for me, what's interesting is a bit about your thought process during that period. And maybe, I don't know, learnings you took from that time and things like that.
Yeah,
but just coming back to the Facebook profile pic, it's just funny because I was telling you before we started recording that I brought it up on the other show I do called The Rundown, where we chat about the news and releases in drum and bass. And I was pitching it to my co-host as like this genius marketing move of like, you just change your profile pic, but you don't say anything, and then it gets everybody talking and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's an excellent strategy. If that's what I mean, I guess I could have played it off, like, oh, that was my plan the whole time, but it's so, I think the irony in it is so perfect that it's like, I have to be honest, like I really didn't plan that at all. I purged my socials. So like my Twitter, my Instagram, I removed everything and changed the picture there, but no notifications or anything like that. So I figured I'd be fine to do it on Facebook, and not realizing that that's something that Facebook has, an automated notification system. It just made its own post, and it cycled out of control. I saw the engagements and everything. I said, and even in my head, even though it did make a post, looking at it, it was like, there's no way that a lot of people are going to see it anyway, because I've been inactive for like 2 years. And I don't know, like people just started seeing it. It was
for me,
really
it just
bizarre.
popped up. It just popped up straight away. So I don't know if it's somebody else.
I'll be sending Facebook a letter. I don't know, man. They totally spoiled my announcement. That is not how I wanted to do it. But I think it's a genius marketing strategy.
It is. Let's keep it that way. But I mean, at the same time, isn't it kind of like comforting to know that like people, like for example, I saw it, and for me that was straight away like a talking point for our other podcast, and other people started commenting and sending messages. Like, isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah, like what is that about? Why did he do that? And honestly, that played a role in me reviving the alias. And what I mean by that is every month, and you should know this as you release music as well, you get like an email from Spotify. It's like
Mm,
artist Spotify, and they send you your monthly listeners,
yeah.
new new listeners, countries, all of that stuff. Like they send you your stats. And as like ever since I quit the alias, I would still get those emails for for Vintage Real, obviously, and then for Alexvnder. And it was crazy to see how many monthly listeners I still had from the point of me retiring to even to now.
Mm,
um it's and I never really understood why. I mean, I guess my music was still there, and a lot of people did like my music and enjoy my music, so I guess I didn't think that people would stop listening. But it was kind of a staggering number to me, at least.
mm,
And so that sort of played a role into motivating me or inspiring me to bring the name back, instead of rebranding. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of I kind of mentioned that other alias to you. We can discuss that if you want, but
Yeah.
it that definitely played a role. And so seeing that many engagements on a post that was sort of accidental
Mm,
was almost like a blessing in disguise. It was kind of like, wow, I had no idea that that many people would still really appreciate
yeah, still
my
care.
music, and be that excited to hear more of my music.
Yeah,
It's really cool. It's really cool.
yeah, yeah. It's super interesting. What you're saying really reminds me of when I spoke with Colossus Toby.
Mhm.
It was this like a year ago. It was the second episode of this podcast, so it seems like ages.
Awesome. Yeah.
But he mentioned, because he took a long break from the scene as well, and get kind of fed up with it. A bit similar, maybe not as public as an exit as you,
Yeah.
but still like stepped away from
I'm
the scene. And
dramatic. It's
but he did mention that for him, like actually still seeing people constantly listening to his music and reaching out to him for years, like
yeah.
almost made him feel like I owe it to these people to actually like come back and make more music.
Yeah, that mindset is very, very relatable. I logged out of my SoundCloud for the last couple of years, and in the past few weeks I logged back into. Oh my god, man! I thought I was opening like a spam email after years of not opening it. I had so many messages, different artists asking me production questions, saying, "Hey, I really, really enjoy and miss your sound." Just yeah, a wealth of messages. People saying how much they missed Alexvnder, and it's crazy to me. I never really thought that when I started releasing drum and bass that that it would get this way. I mean, I really only wanted, I just wanted people to hear my music and
Mm,
enjoy the music. It was never about clout, it was never about fame or anything like that. I didn't even know what DJing was when I first started making
mm,
DnB. My journey, like from when I started getting into the DnB, it's kind of funny. It's crazy, but it's
mm.
nothing that I really thought it would get to. I mean, I don't even know how many followers I have on SoundCloud now, but I was satisfied with 100, 200.
Yeah.
The numbers were really never like something that I really focused on,
Mm,
because my goal in drum and bass was just to share my music, make music that I thought sounded good, and share that with people. And that maybe that mindset kind of led to me making the decision to retire, just because of the flack that I received for the music that I thought sounded cool. And people said, no, you can't do
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, then let's get a bit into that. I don't want to
Hmm.
like reopen old wounds and all of that,
No,
but
it,
it's still a very like relevant debate, I think, because
yeah,
this is never going away. Like sampling, I think it's going to stay forever. So,
yeah,
yeah, as much as you want to dive into it, what was kind of your mindset 2 years ago when you decided to
yeah.
take a step back?
So I know I dropped that video on my YouTube channel and explained as much as I did, and I can reiterate and get more into detail. There was a lot going on in my personal life as well, whether it was my relationship that I was in at the time or my job that could have also been clouding my judgment. But mainly, yeah. So there was the sampling, right? I couldn't think of the word. There was the sampling that I was doing that I guess seemed rather controversial. I and to this date I don't understand the rules, but it was, you know, me sampling current day music, we'll say from like 2014 and so on, sampling from those tunes, whether it was snares, breaks, even down to kicks, anything that I thought sounded nice that I could implement into my music, I would do it. Not seeking any sort of beef with any producers or anything like that. My goal was to, like I said, make music that I thought sounded good. And so I can understand and I can respect that a lot of producers make a lot of their sounds from scratch. But a lot of them don't. I don't know. That seems like a cop-out answer, but in my head, it wasn't something like I'm gonna go and rip somebody's break and I'm just gonna throw it into my tune blatantly. I would never use somebody's, if I did use, you know, sample somebody's song or like elements from their song, I would never just throw it into my track unprocessed and, you know, just use that as is. I would always do some sort of tweaking or processing to it. And 99% of the time, I won't even say that, 100% of the time, if I used someone else's samples, it was in a layering process. So I never ripped somebody's break and just threw it into, oh, that's like my drum break now. Like I never did that. Because even in my head, like that seems immoral. That seems wrong. You know?
Absolutely.
Which, and I guess I can see other people's like mindsets. If somebody's has spent hours, you know, putting a break together or layering a bunch of snares to get a final sample, I can get how that's like stealing someone's work. But at the same time, I thought that was sort of the premise in drum and bass. I thought it was all based around sampling, and I apologize for my ignorance. I was so ignorant to the whole drum and bass scene, and even EDM as a genre, if you want to refer to it as that. When I first got into it, when I started making drum and bass, I was a hip hop producer, just making beats and selling beats online. And a buddy of mine, good friend, like a brother at this point, he goes by Horizon High. He showed me like all of these different genres in EDM, and I sort of gravitated towards drum and bass and a couple other genres. And at first I was like really, really, really like strict in the way I produced. It was like, I'm not using drum breaks. I'm not using anything. I'm going to build all of my breaks from scratch. And with that came, I guess, a sort of very experimental sound, but a lot of like really shitty tunes. I mean, obviously, like when you're new to production, you know, you're not going to be making like grade A tunes in your first year. It's just not going to happen. But I feel like the lack of good sample usage really affected my overall sound and my overall quality of sound. A lot goes into it, you know, mixing and things like that. But I think having the right sample selection is huge. I think it's major. And so at some point I abandoned that mindset. I don't know if it was because Horizon High, his name's Ruben. I'm going to call him Ruben. I don't know if it was Ruben constantly getting on my case, like, you need to use breaks. I mean, it wasn't like roasting me or insulting my sound, but it's just, it's important to like really fill out your, especially when you're new, to really fill out your drums to make it sound like a fuller sound. And so I sort of just kept with that mindset. It's like, I need to have a really good sounding break, really full sounding break. So why am I going to stop my sampling at the year like 2000? I wanted to make sounds that were current. So I felt like my best opportunity was to sample current music. And so a long journey to get to this point, I guess. I was a part of a bunch of different communities a couple years ago. on Twitch and on Discord, and I would share my music to get feedback. And I guess you could say that I sort of sold myself out when I was asked about certain elements, and I said, yeah, I mean, I sampled it from this person or this tune or whatever, and people shared their thoughts, as people do, and whether it was the fact that I just wanted to make cool sounding music and share it with as many people as I could, and I just took it personally, or the fact that I was going through a lot of my own personal life, I received it in a way in which it was kind of like, fuck this, like I don't need to be a part of this. I get that, and I mentioned in my video, I get that there's a lot of people that supported my music, and there's a lot of cool people in the scene, in the industry, and I still believe that, but at that point in time, I didn't see any of that. I just saw like all of this criticism, all the harsh comments, and there were the experiences that I had with various labels and failed releases, and plans changing and everything. It was just like, dude, this industry, it sucks, man. Yeah. And there's parts of it that do and parts of it that don't, and that led to sort of the decision. It's like, you know what, my whole mindset on this was to just make and share music that I loved, and I felt like I was being attacked. Maybe, like I said, I could have had a completely wrong mindset dealing with that situation. But I'm older now, and my mindset is different. And at this point, it's kind of like, I'm still not really in it for clout or fame or anything like that. But I do feel like that sense of like, I need to repay all those people that messaged me for the last 2 years. Hey man, your music helped me through this experience in my life, helped me with these really hard times. It's like, that's the reason that I got into it to begin with. That's why I did it. So it kind of just put me back on track. It's like, you know what, if people really liked my music that much, I feel like I owe it to them to continue making it. And so I started experimenting with drum and bass again 8 months ago. Me and Ruben, or Horizon High, we sort of he pressured me a lot into it, and he'll hear this, but it's kind of his fault. It's kind of his fault that I'm in drum and bass anyway to begin with, but it's kind of his fault that we ended up launching a secret alias, which is now going to be public. It's called Phoenix and Caldera. It was sort of like a secret partnership to, I guess, sort of ease me back into making drum and bass again. And never really planned on making that public. It was just sort of like my opportunity to start making drum and bass again and release and see how people like the music. And it kind of, we got a couple releases out, and after a lot of conversation with him, it was like, maybe I should just bring back Alexvnder, and that's sort of where we're at now. So I guess the official statement, yes, Alexvnder is back. There are releases in works right now. Probably in the next couple of months, we'll be hearing some fresh Alexvnder tunes.
That's brilliant, man. Yeah,
I need some water.
I mean, definitely on that YouTube video where you announced you were leaving, there were a ton of messages underneath from people saying that they were influenced by you and got into drum and bass because of you and stuff like that. I know you mentioned Lena's before we started recording.
Yeah.
And
the video itself, okay, it's like a really humbling thing to say, but I didn't think that I was anybody, you know. Obviously I knew a good amount of people liked my music, but I didn't really realize the scale of, how much people like had listened to Alexvnder tunes, if that makes sense. It was sort of staggering to see all of those messages, and even from artists that inspired me and my sound back in the day. Like, one of my biggest inspirations, I don't want to name drop or anything like that, but I was a huge fan and still am of I don't know, is that, I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus though. So
yeah, sure. Yeah. As you
Paul and
want.
Bryson. Okay, fuck it. It
Yeah.
is what it is. But huge fan, and like I said, they really inspired my sound.
Yeah.
I just loved Paul and Bryson tunes, and I tried to get releases on Solvent. I managed to do that a couple times, but just to see like people that sort of pioneered my sound and my vision when it came to making drum and bass, to comment and leave the words that they did. It was really unsettling, because like I said, I didn't think I was anybody. I still don't. And then months later, seeing probably my biggest inspiration in my sound, Etherwood's been Alexvnder tunes. It was just, I couldn't believe it. Like, I really couldn't believe it. And at that point, it was already like, this is the decision that I've made. Like, you can't just say, on second thought, I'm actually going to come back, you know? And so to see that I had that kind of support, that people really liked the tunes, and just in the past couple months, logging back onto my SoundCloud and seeing how many plays that certain tracks have, I still can't believe it. I don't understand it, but it's awesome to see that kind of support, and the fact that I had put that community together on Twitch when I was streaming all the music production and everything, and artists like Lenny's perspective shit, ethereal riff. There's so many amazing, talented producers that I was able to inspire or maybe help with my techniques or anything like that. It's so humbling to see that, and to see that at this point, after accidentally revealing a picture, that I still have that much support. It's you know, and the monthly emails from Spotify that I have all of these listeners. It's amazing, and I still don't. It's like I said, I try to be as humble as possible. I just really didn't think that I was shit. I didn't think I was anybody. So.
I'm curious, when you came to that decision to step away for a bit, how much was it also maybe partly due to the fact that like you're American, you're based in the US, and it's like being American is already that much harder to actually pierce through. So for me, when I saw your video, it came also a bit of, like, and this may be just me projecting, but it also felt a bit like, guys, I'm in the US, like nobody does drum and bass over here. Like, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but like, give me a break.
No, that's very true. That's also a mindset, because like I had mentioned, I'd wanted to share my message. You know, I wanted to share my music with as many people as I could. And the fact that I felt like there was so little outreach as an American artist, it was very defeating. You know, you would spend time on making your tune, and then you would go into the process of releasing it, and then it would release. And it's like, you know, how many people are actually getting to hear this? You know, I feel like obviously the scene is a lot different now than it was years ago in the US. It's still a growing scene, you know, but I would see like videos of like some of the festivals that you guys would have overseas, and it's like, fuck, man, like, why? I wish we had stuff like that, because it just gives you so much more of an opportunity to share your music with a wider audience, I feel. And so having limited resources here in the US, I mean, there's little club nights that you can go to in LA, and it's not really the same thing. It's sort of like, I feel like if you have a name, you can sell out one of those club nights. You could definitely put numbers in a room, but I don't know. I saw the festivals and everything. Like, it was so new to me too. Like, I had no idea the different dynamic from, you know, just selling beats on YouTube to being a drum and bass artist or a DJ. I had no idea. Like I said, I had no idea DJing even existed. I saw videos and pictures of like EDC and shit. I thought that was all fake. I had no idea until I actually went. It was in 2017 or 18 until I physically went. I was like, this is incredible. This is amazing. Look how many people are here just to experience different kinds of music. And so in my head, it was like, I need this opportunity. Not for fame or fortune. Like, it's not, and I could be wrong by saying this, but I feel like drum and bass is a niche genre. Like,
Oh, it is.
I
Yeah,
don't
for
think
sure.
I don't think you become financially successful from spinning DnB.
No.
And that was never my intention. But at the same time, I did want that opportunity, you know, to like spin larger festivals and things like that, just because I know how drum and bass feels when I listen to it. And from seeing the reaction of a lot of people, I've had a few sets before, and just seeing, you know, being in that moment with you and the person in the audience, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's an incredible feeling. And so the fact that I felt like there wasn't that much of an opportunity in the US to do that, it almost felt like I was wasting my time.
yeah,
And so that, I could definitely say that contributed to the decision overall.
yeah. You also mentioned that you had some issues with labels promising stuff and not like delivering, and that also weighing on you. And I'm curious if you're like, what did you learn from that experience, and are you like do you have like another mindset now, because those issues might reappear now? Like the industry hasn't changed, I think.
Yeah. Not to really speak on any of those other labels or anything. But probably one of the biggest things that really hit the most was my album that ended up dropping on Glitch wasn't actually an album for Glitch, but I'm so thankful that it dropped on Glitch, because I feel like that's where it should have been. That's where it should have been the whole time, you know, just because of the relationship that I have with the label owner, and as much as support that I've received from Geo. I feel like that was the best place at that point for that album to be. But originally it was set for a year prior, on a completely different label, and the date just kept getting delayed until I ended up pulling it, because at that point I was starting to consider retiring the Alias, and I really wanted that to drop. I really wanted those tunes out, and I was able to thankfully get that released. But I feel like in that time when I was making music, I was trying to get this label release or this label release, and I got to experience that dynamic of label managers and dates and all of that. And it's a very different side that a lot of, like, the average listener, they don't really get to see that side of the industry. They just, they just hear the music, but it's different. And as an artist, it's a lot to deal with that. And sort of, in my mind, it was sort of just easier at that point to just send music to Geo, because I knew that he supported my music 100 times, and it was like that's sort of my go-to. That's where I'm just going to send my music from now on. That's where I'll release. And my mindset going back into Alexvnder, I want to be open-minded and try other labels out. I ended up getting some messages near the tail end of Alexvander's career, where, labels saying, "Hey, we really want a sound from you. We'd love an EP." And I had to decline, just because at that time I was already planning the retiring of the Alias. So I'll probably reach out to those labels again, the ones that I was in contact with prior, just because there were some other labels that I wanted releases on. But I feel like most of my releases are going to be going through Glitch, just because I feel like that's my home. I think that's like my home label with Geo. But I mean, of course, any opportunity could come up in the future that may change that answer. But as of right now, I'm going to be doing a lot of Glitch releases, and hopefully some others. Alexvander's sound has definitely changed.
I'm so curious to hear, like,
that was sort of the reason in doing the Phoenix and Caldera Alias, just because I feel like, and we kind of discussed this earlier, how like an artist has like their sound, and not to say that it's instantly recognizable, but you could definitely hear a song and say, "Hey, that sounds like so and so," without even looking at the artist's name. And the last thing I wanted to do was launch this secret alias and then have people say, That's Alexvnder.
I've heard
What
this
is he
before.
doing? Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot more of an experimental sound now in my drum and bass. I will say that I was primarily a liquid artist before, and now we're kind of pushing the boundaries on that. We're changing the norm, I guess, for Alexvnder. It's not really what it used to be. Still
Nice.
there's an emphasis on atmosphere, regardless of what subgenre of drum and bass I get into. That's sort of the biggest thing for me is atmosphere, a lot of orchestral elements, as you mentioned in that other episode. But a lot of really cool stuff to come. I hope.
I'm interested, like, what kind of, because you mentioned, well, I mentioned in the intro, but you had your other alias, Vintage Reel, which was focused on synthwave, and you talked about hip hop, and I'm kind of curious in that break, like you could have experimented with any genre if you wanted, and pursued a million other avenues that probably are more popular in the US, like trap or whatever. What kind of, like, in the end, like pulled you back towards drum and bass?
Well, so I never stopped making hip hop. I've been making it for at least 10 years now. So that's something that I continued doing, whether it was selling beats, just because it seemed like a good revenue source for, at this point, relatively a low amount of work, like a little time, just because of how much I've been doing it. So I still did that, and I experimented with other genres. Like I ended up dropping a couple trance projects on the Alexvnder alias years ago, and they were terrible. They were awful, just bad. Like I can be honest. But I ended up making a completely separate alias for trance and progressive house, progressive trance, that sort of genre, and I had artwork and everything. I had a handful of releases publicly for that alias. It's Eden Speed. I don't know if anybody would want to check it out, but I did a lot of releases on that, and for whatever reason, I couldn't tell you. I had like a handful of tunes waiting to go, ready for dropping, and I just never dropped them. I love trance. I love the genre, but I don't know if it just didn't like I didn't feel the same way about it as I felt about drum and bass. So and I even got to experience trance live at EDC, and that's a whole different experience from anything else. It's amazing, but it was it's very different from drum and bass, and I feel like maybe that contributed to me not continuing with it, not continuing to release the music. It's still a big passion for it. I still love listening to it, and I would still produce it now, but I just haven't. So that I'm just like infamous at this point for just letting aliases die. So I let that alias die.
It's like your brand now.
And then this other one, oh my God, I didn't even launch this one. It was a dubstep and trap alias, which in the States, huge. The dub scene, dub, rhythm, trap, all of that is huge in the US. And so I thought that would be an awesome opportunity to be able to share, that my music with everybody. And I put in months and months. I started production on this alias while I was in the Alexvnder alias still, and just practicing sound design, learning how to make a lot of different sounds. And dude, I the whole social media kit, the profile pictures, the debut EP ready, collabs with artists, and I just never pulled the trigger on it. It's literally just a dead alias waiting to go live, and it's just not. There's nothing on there. And so from that to trance to the synthwave, I've been a big lover of synthwave, and found, for me at least, that it was relatively easy to make just because of my experience and my time in music production. And I I write 99% of my productions from the piano first, and so being able to play a lot of the synthwave tunes that I loved, it was like, this seems awesome. Let me pursue this. This sounds like something really cool. But synthwave is an incredibly niche genre, probably smaller than drum and bass, and so
Probably is, yeah. I'm not sure, but I'd say it is.
yeah, it's so when I realized like this is another really really small genre, you're not going to be able to like touch a lot of people with this music either. It's like, man, I I tried all these different avenues, I guess, in my head, and none of them really seemed to bring me the same enjoyment that drum and bass did. And so I don't know if all of those failed attempts led to me experimenting with drum and bass again, but
Probably did, I'd say.
it may have, just because as an artist you could probably relate to this. Like you strive for that feeling. It's like it's something so unique. It's different than like when you're eating something and it tastes really good, or like when any of like accomplishments or any like feeling that you could feel to create something. It's so different. Not to shit on like the average listener, but that's not the point of this. It's sort of like, as a creator, like a content creator or anything, like if you make something, the feeling that you get like while you make it and like the accomplishment of making it, it's unique to that. Like you can't feel that, you can't experience that anywhere else.
For me, it's kind of the magic of having like there's nothing, and then after a few hours you've created something in the universe that wasn't there before. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. And I could totally relate to that.
For me, even if like the track sucks or whatever, it's still something that didn't exist. And because you focus your time on it, now it does exist. And yeah, I totally relate to your feeling. Like obviously writing tracks sometimes is hard and you're kind of struggling to put it together. But every now and then you'll get that fleeting moment of oh yeah, that's the hook I was looking for all day long. And then that's the feeling you're chasing.
Yeah, I could totally back that 100%. That's so true. And I feel like even being when I was doing drum and bass, and I feel like this might have actually contributed to the burnout. I was doing my Twitch streams, and like I said, I love that feeling that you get when you create. But I was making a new track from scratch on stream almost every stream, like almost every day. And that's very difficult to do. And so I feel like that also contributed to me losing the inspiration or the motivation to want to continue doing that. So at this point, if I do, I guess I can't say if, I'll be obviously bringing back the Alexvnder alias, but I don't know if I'll be bringing back the streaming as I was doing it before. At this point in time, I guess for people that have like the video option for the podcast, this huge banner behind my head says "The Technician." I do stream now, but it's a primarily gaming channel. I haven't done any sort of music or music production on the channel. So I don't. I as much as I enjoyed streaming and building that community that I built on my Twitch channel and my Discord, awesome people. And I was able to actually influence a lot of people from my Twitch streams, which I really didn't know about at the time. But as much as I enjoyed doing that and I loved building those connections, I don't know if I'd be willing to start up the production streams again or the feedback streams, just because as an artist, it takes a lot out of you. It really does.
Dude, it's super important to like pace yourself as well and like not burn out in the first few months. And
exactly.
Just take it at your own rhythm for sure. But let's just like shifting away just slightly from music, because
sure.
I'm usually just interested by whatever my guest is busy with in their life at the moment. So who's Techninetyfive or Techninetyfive?
Techninetyfive. Who's that? Well, so obviously I stepped away from music and there was a lot of free time, I guess you could say. I started a full-time job a couple years ago, right at the tail end of the Alexvnder alias, and that occupied a lot of my time, but I still, in my free time, I would pursue those other musical aliases that died out, or I'd play games. I've been playing games for a long time now, and I'd introduced gaming on the Alexvnder streams a few times, but I felt that obviously because of the primary audience on the channel, I had fewer viewers when I gamed in comparison to when I streamed music, you know. Understandably so. I get it. That's what my viewers wanted to see. That's what they're used to seeing. So when I would switch it up and play games on the channel, it kind of, you know, it didn't perform as well, I guess you could say. But I thought that I was, it sounds so stupid saying, but I thought I was an entertaining guy.
Yeah.
And I thought I had a decent sense of humor. So I decided, you know what, if you know, I would like to stream again. So let me try to put like a gaming community together. So I started streaming, gosh, I don't know, probably 2 years ago. Right after Alexvnder, I started streaming gaming on a separate Twitch channel. And it was the name and the whole branding, alias, everything. It just came from my job. Like, I'm a wind tech. I work on wind turbines. And it was kind of like, you know, what should my name be? What should my whole alias be? And I went back and forth trying to figure out something that seemed clever, or something that, you know, like, should I wear a stupid costume? You know, like everything, streamers, they all have to have like a gimmick, you know? And, I figured, like, why am I trying so hard? Like, let me just do something relatable, you know? And so I figured I could be like the technician, because that's what I do for work. And a lot of people see the name Techninetyfive and they think that it's like inspired by Tech9, which it's actually not. 95 is just my birth year.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
So I've never actively listened to Tech9. I've heard his music, but it's not like, oh, this is, you know, let me make a spin off of this name. It's just my job and my birth year, Techninetyfive, the technician. So I ended up doing that for a little bit on Twitch, and did some research into the analytics of it. And I found that with other streaming platforms, you as a creator, you're treated differently. You get different percentages in terms of income and things like that. And Twitch they take the most from the streamer.
Oh, really?
In terms of donations, subscriptions, et cetera, et cetera. So so it ended up leading to me switching to the Facebook creator platform. So now, I stream irregularly on my Facebook page. But that's, it's like I said, it's 100% gaming. At this point in time, I really don't see me introducing music into that platform.
Yeah, no, separate.
If I did stream music again, music production, it would be either on the Alexvnder page, or I would try to go find my old Alexvnder Twitch page. But that's a very, very, very slight chance, just because I don't, like I said, it takes a lot out of the artist doing that sort of thing. So that's sort of, that's sort of what's going on now creatively. Like I said, I'm still doing hip hop. I've even gotten into, I've been taking a lot of singing lessons, and I've been doing a lot of singing, and that's sort of like taking part into my hip hop production as well. Creating like a whole like artist based on that, just singing and being an R&B singer. It's crazy, man. It's been a pretty crazy couple of years. But a lot of my time is dominated by my job. So that contributes to, you know, am I streaming tonight? Fuck no. I'm gonna eat and go to bed. It's it's not like working like at a grocery store, you know. It's a pretty physically intense job, so it can take a lot out of you. But that's pretty much, that's everything for me at this point, is just my job, streaming technician, and I'll be finding time to make drum and bass in the cracks, you know, when I get a few minutes of time.
Tell me a bit about your job, because I've seen wind turbines everywhere,
Yeah.
but I've never spoken to anybody that actually works on one. I've seen
Yeah,
did you see the Camo and Crook DJ set on a wind turbine? They did one a few.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I'm still knowing my job and
You're
the
like,
safety
safety
policies we
concerns,
have.
safety.
Dude, I was freaking out. I was like, how were they allowed? Number one, how are they allowed to do this? There had to be, I don't know. I feel weird speaking on it, but there had to be a lot of money or something that went into it, just because it depends on, okay, so it depends on the customer, whoever owned the site, whatever company was running the site. Because there's a lot logistically that can go wrong. And dude, they had to have signed a million waivers. There's no way around it. Like it's just, even with my job, we have to follow so many safety policies, especially because if an accident happens, if you weren't following, whatever safety things that you needed to, you're now liable. Like, you're at fault for that incident. God forbid if it ends up being a lethal one. Nobody's getting that insurance check, So
companies want to protect themselves. And
So I saw videos of that, and it was pretty unsettling to watch. I mean, I thought, damn, how cool would that be? And it's like, maybe I should do that with the background that I had. And it's an awesome job, honestly. Like, I went from working customer service in restaurants and retail stores to working in like a blue collar industry. It's something that I never thought I would do ever, but I love the dynamic of it. Honestly, I would rather do what I'm doing now than work in a restaurant again. Oh, God, I would never work in a restaurant. It takes a special kind of person to do customer service. I feel like I'm a very patient person, but I'm just not that patient. I can't do it. It's too stressful, which sounds so stupid, but until you've worked customer service, you really won't understand that dynamic. There's all those memes that go around about like Karens and, let me talk to your manager. Those are honestly the easiest people to deal with. It's the other people that you have to deal with that are, oh my God, man. It's just not.
Do you have any experience, like memories?
Oh man, yes, unfortunately I do. So it's like, I was working there. There was a retail store that I don't know if it's international or not. It's called Target, but I worked in the electronics department, and it was like right next to the toys section. So obviously, there would be frequent kids running through those aisles, and I would be charged with zoning that area. And basically zoning, if you've never worked in retail, it's putting everything back where it goes, basically. It sounds like such a simple concept, but after you spent 30 minutes zoning in aisle 6F of toys, you go around the corner and then you zone aisle 6E, and you look back around the corner. It's fucked.
It's a war zone.
It's worse because kids 24/7 just running up and down, tormenting the whole place. I had somebody in a restaurant one time when I was working as a host. They came into the restaurant, and it was a restaurant that was in like a really big shopping center, like a mall. It's a very, very popular side of town, and it would be very, very busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. That's the time that everybody's going out. So not to say that you should have expected a wait when you get to a restaurant like this, but it's common.
Yeah.
And one of the guests I had, she decided to make a comment on that. And she said something along the lines of, I've always received terrible service every time I've come here.
Jesus.
It wasn't a complaint like she was saying, I need to speak to your manager. I need to, like something is wrong. It was just like her sharing her opinion.
Just disdain. Yeah.
Exactly. And me as a host, I'm standing there like, to me, it's kind of mind boggling why you come back.
Yeah.
You receive terrible service every time you come here.
There's plenty of places.
Unless you're a glutton for punishment. Like that's oddly torturous of yourself to just put yourself through that on a regular basis. It's just, but you can't say any of that, you're kind of just like, I'm sorry, you know, it's going to be another 50 minutes. Go next door to Denny's or IHOP. Like, I don't, so it just, you deal with a lot of stupid people, which I guess is insensitive to say, but the contrast from being in that environment to now working in a blue collar industry, we all like, all of my coworkers, like my crew, we get to talk however we want. We get to act however we want. Okay, within limits. But
sure, yeah. No, but
as I just got my whole crew fired, it's like you get, you know, there is no customer service element to it, so we don't have to censor our thoughts. We don't have to censor the way that, you know, the way that we're doing. I mean, we work a certain way. You know, we get our jobs done and everything, but at the end of the day, I don't have to worry about a customer like coming up to me and bitching about the service they're receiving, or if I'm working like with my hands and, you know, I'm working in a very dirty job, you know, there's a lot of grease and oil and just a lot of shit that I'm working with. And, you know, at the end of the day, I might be covered in sweat, and it's just, I don't have to worry about, oh God, a customer's going to see me like, oh, that's gross. Like, I don't care. Like, I just feel like, I feel so comfortable working in this sort of industry to where you have the freedom to really have no filter, I guess. And the fact that it is a trade skill, it's like, it's an industry like that to where it's not, you know, you're not making minimum wage, you know. I'm not rich by any doubt, but I'm doing well for myself. You know, I'm living on my own, have my own place, have my own vehicle. I feel like this job has given me a lot of freedom, a lot of opportunity. And so that's, I love my job. Not to get too much into the technical details of what I do on a day-to-day at my job, but
sure. But,
a brief summary: I climb a tower at least once a day, depending on my job scope, and fix it or just do like preemptive maintenance, like just like you would on a vehicle. It's just, you could just treat it like your car. You know, your car's going to need cleaning, it's going to need oil changes, et cetera, et cetera. So this is basically that, just on a larger scale.
This might be a stupid question, but do you get to kind of enjoy the view as well, or?
Yes. First time I climbed one, hell no. It was the worst experience of my life, especially since it was just after my climb test. So I just started in the industry, and they said, you know, if you're going to have this job here, you need to pass the climb test, which is they give you this time limit to get up the tower. Okay. And the towers at my site are 300 feet, and there are sites that have taller towers, but I'd never climbed before. So they said, you have to do this in 15 minutes. I was like, I guess I'll be packing my bags, because I'm not going to be able to do this. And I don't know. I was definitely close to the line. It could have been like 12, 13 minutes, something like that. But by the time I got up, man, I was gassed. And I had an experienced climber climbing with me. And he kept telling me as soon as I was getting back on the ladder, he's like, dude, like, you need to slow down. You need to take your time. Because I guess it looked like I was really going through it. And when I got up to the top, I was ready to pass out. And then I got to go up top and like stand up there. And the last thing you want to do when you're about to pass out is stand on a platform 300 feet in the sky. We're tied off, but it was so unsettling. I felt dizzy. The elevation where I moved to get this job is a lot higher than where I originally lived. So being up that high, especially after that physically intense climb, dude, I was in rough shape. But that I could say at that point in time, the view sucked. I wish I was back on the ground in the work truck headed back to the shop, you know. But it's even on my personal Facebook page, I've shared a lot of videos. They have like, there's certain proprietary information that prevents us from taking a lot of pictures and videos and stuff like that. But things that I have been allowed to share that I legally can share, like I've shared videos and pictures. It's such a cool environment, man. And like I said, it's the contrast of being in a restaurant at 6 p.m. on a Friday night at the front door, like greeting guests as they come in, to sitting on top of a wind turbine and like looking at the view. It's like, why would I ever go and why would I do that again? This is it, man. It's an awesome career opportunity, and renewable energy isn't going anywhere. It's
for sure.
I don't know if it's the future, but there's a lot of what is it? When you don't have to worry about losing your job, what the hell is it? Job security. A lot of job security. I feel like with it, I don't feel like wind energy is going anywhere except for bigger. Like they just keep building wind farms. It's just what they do. So
I think it's definitely going to be part of the energy mix in the future. It's probably never going to be like the entire solution, because there's always that aspect of like, if there's no wind, if there's no sun, like how like how does that work?
There's a lot of elements that go into it. But I feel like it's still a very viable option. It's a good career opportunity, and as of right now, until somebody offers me more money to go somewhere else, I'm hanging out. So
and I feel like it's also a cool contrast from, like, I work an office job, and I've been working from home for like ever, and when I'm finished working, I'm still behind my screen because I'm either doing music or my podcast or stuff. So I'm kind of like in this box all the time. Whereas like for you, it seems like a nice contrast of being outside on top of a wind turbine, then coming home and doing your streams or whatever.
Yeah, it's a cool like change of pace every day. I feel like at this point, if it wasn't for my job, I would get probably very little physical activity, but it does. I mean, and I've talked to guys that have been climbing for years. Like the climb doesn't really get easier. It sucks every time. It just sucks. But if that's the worst part of your job, it lasts like 3-4 minutes. At this point, because I've been doing it so long, it's like that's it, and then I get to go to work. And then a lot of it's not always an up tower thing. Sometimes we'll be down tower fixing something, but like I said, it takes a lot out of you sometimes. So when I get off work and I come home, it's like, dude, I don't want to work out. I don't want to go to the gym. I kind of just want to veg. Just have some dinner and stream or play games, whatever, or make music. So it's nice being able to get out and get that fresh air. However, something out here during the summer, something out here in the pollen or whatever it is, it really destroys me. And thank God that the podcast is being recorded today and not a week ago, because oh man, dude, the allergies that I get, it literally affects me from like May until mid-September. I just the whole time, dude, I'm just sneezing, runny nose, like it's awful. My allergies out here are incredibly severe. I've never dealt with it like growing up back in California where I'm from, but something out here really, really fucks with me. But
where are you based actually?
So as I mentioned, I was from California. I was just outside of LA, but I took this job. They offered me, it was a wind farm in Wyoming. Okay. So it's the northern part of the US, and the wind farm's in Hanna. It's like a southeastern Wyoming, but a beautiful area compared to where I grew up. I grew up in like a desert essentially.
Wyoming is the one with like the beautiful views and the mountains, and
there's a handful of states in the US that are like that, and Wyoming's definitely one of those. Just being at the wind farm, some of the views, like a 360, especially when you're up on top of the wind turbine, you being able to see all around you, the view is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Better than anything that I experienced back home in California. I mean, Hollywood is nice, but it's not. It's not the same, dude. It's just not. I love it here, honestly. If I lost this job and I had to choose between staying here to find another job or going back to California, I guess there's a lot of political reasons that will affect this decision too. But just aesthetically, I would probably stay here. It's just it's such a beautiful place. The winters are harsh. I'll give it that, like very harsh. But it's
probably the cost of living also is like
definitely compared to Southern California. I mean, that's what I'm paying now. It's probably like half of what you'd have to pay to get like a studio or one bedroom, and I have like it's basically a house. It's like one side of a duplex.
Yeah.
So I have my own kitchen, 2 bedrooms, bathroom, living room, all of
Yeah.
that, you know, backyard. You couldn't get that in California for what I'm paying now. It's ridiculous. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons that would really influence that decision, but
Yeah.
definitely one of the biggest ones is just the environment. I love it out here.
Yeah.
I miss my people back in Cali, but this is definitely a better place in my opinion.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely need to visit one day. I've said this before, but I've traveled quite a bit, but I've never been to the US before.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to go to California, actually, San Francisco, early 2020, and that was like, we had planned it just before COVID hit, and then obviously fuck your plans, fuck everything once COVID
exactly
hits.
You're not doing anything.
Exactly.
You thought you were going to California. There's a lot of really cool touristy spots that you can visit in the US. California has a handful of those spots, of course. As I mentioned, Hollywood, or even as you mentioned, San Francisco is an awesome place.
Yeah, for me it was even more like San Diego, because I was heavy into punk rock and like Blink and all those bands, and so for me to go to actually around San Diego and kind of see that whole vibe was like
their environment they were in. It's a cool place. I've been to San Francisco a few times. I actually went one of the first drum and bass shows I actually went to see. Edlin was actually playing at a club in San Francisco, so I went up to, it was probably 5-6 hours away from where I lived at the time in Southern California. So I made a little bit of a journey to go up there to see it. But there's definitely a lot of really aesthetic views up there, man. And even in Wyoming, I don't know if you've heard of Yellowstone Park. It's like a national park. So that's also in Wyoming. But there's there's so many, and I've only been to a handful of states. There's so many other cool views and things that you can see in different states of the US. But obviously if you got COVID to worry about, that could probably affect if you're gonna travel or not. It's that kind of sucked. It came at a bad time. And I feel like if I was active in Alexvnder a year ago, I feel like I could have made so much music when COVID first happened, and everybody was quarantined. You couldn't really go out. I feel like that would have been an awesome opportunity. Like I could have put probably an album or something together. But
yeah, man,
let's not live in regret.
No, exactly. There's no point looking to the past, and everybody has their own path and their own.
Yeah, I mean, while I didn't get to really do that too much, I did. Like I said, I experimented with those other genres, and even now the sound of Alexvnder, it's different. It's the same, but it's different. I got to do a lot of practice on my on mixing and a lot of stuff production focused. I got a lot of practice on. So it should be interesting to see the response for some of the tunes that are going to be coming out. I'm excited to share them, man. I really am.
I'm excited to hear them.
Yeah, just some of the reactions I'm hoping for. It's like there's no way this is an Alexvnder tune, But
yeah. I'm gonna slowly wrap this up. It's been
of course.
Absolute pleasure talking with you, man, and meeting you.
My really pleasure, man. Like I said, I've never been in this setting, and even though I streamed all those years and everything, it's still this was sort of nerve-wracking to get on. It's a little different, I guess, for me, but I appreciate the opportunity, man. Who would have thought that a simple mistake by Facebook would have ended up with me, coming onto your podcast. It's awesome. I feel like it's a great platform that you offer here. I think it's an excellent opportunity for artists, and I think that I hope at least that a lot of people will be able to check out the episode and get to hear the backstory on a lot of controversy that was floating around my name over the years. If there's anything that I want people to know, it's that I never was trying to do anything shady with my sampling or anything like that. It wasn't something that I was trying to like go behind producers' backs or any of that stuff like that. At the end of the day, I was just trying to make music that I thought was cool, that I loved, and I wanted to share it with as many people as I could. So that's sort of that's sort of the emphasis with me bringing the alias back. I'm still going to be sampling. And at this point, if I, receive messages of criticism or, you're doing this wrong, this is not how you're supposed to do it, it's kind of like, whatever, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just making the music that I love, man. If you like it, then you do. If you don't, then don't listen. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think definitely like through that video you put out, you came across like you were very genuine, and the fact we didn't even mention it, but the Shrine sample pack, which is probably like the most used and shared sample pack in Liquid, at least. Like
I still don't believe that. I still don't believe that. And when I mentioned I logged back onto my SoundCloud to receive a plethora of messages, there were people messaging me their tunes that they made with the Shrine pack. Yeah. Dude, I thought 3 people downloaded that pack. I thought nobody used it. It's huge. Had no clue.
But dude, that sample pack is like huge, and the quality of those breaks and all the hits and everything. Honestly, it's like whenever, like now through a podcast, I sometimes have people asking me for like tips or whatever on music, and I don't believe I'm yet in a position to give any advice on making music, but I usually send them to your sample pack.
No way.
That's like the first step of like, get yourself some good samples. So go there, and that'll get you started.
My God, dude. That's awesome. I mean, thank you for that. Cause like, I didn't know what I really expected in releasing that pack. Obviously the ripped breaks that I was using, they were in there. So I figured that would probably cause a lot of controversy in itself, but I never heard anybody talk about it. So I thought, a few people probably downloaded it, and that was maybe it. I had no idea the outreach that pack got. That's insane. That's incredible. It makes me want to make another one, honestly.
Yeah.
Future plans.
But yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
So that's what I was getting at. Like, obviously, like it was kind of clear to me that there were no bad intentions from you, because sharing all your breaks and all your samples, like that's coming from a good place. So
I practically gave away, was it 10 drum and bass tracks in those construction kits?
Yeah.
Those were basically release ready. And I just deleted the second half of it, stemmed it out, and said, here, try to make something with it. So that took a lot. I really like some of those tunes that I released as construction kits, and I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot now. Like, dang, man, bringing back Alexvnder, I would have loved to have dropped that one or that one, But I think that, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, having good sample selection, I feel, is so important. Obviously, there's other elements that go into a good tune, but I think good sample selection is a good start, at least. And so I felt like it was, my mission to really provide that for new upcoming producers, or even people that have been doing it for a while, just throw in a break layer or something just to make your break fuller. It's just, I feel like those tools are really vital, really important for producers. So that's sort of why I did it. I'm happy to hear now that it reached so many people. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like that was my goal. And so I was able to hit that goal. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely link it in the show notes again for anybody who hasn't checked it out. I think the link still works, so definitely go and...
It should. If not, just let me know. Shoot me a message on Facebook, and I'll send you I'll re-upload it or something like that.
But in the meantime, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, man. Really
Download
enjoyed
my
this
pack.
one.
Yeah.
And
no, it really has, man. I can't thank you enough for having me on the episode. I really appreciate it. Assuming that this probably right around the date that this is going to be live, I'll be either debuting an Alexvnder tune to do the revival, or the announcement video will be dropping. So stay tuned, guys. A lot of exciting stuff to come,
and so maybe quickly mention your socials, or like where can people like check you out if people haven't heard of you, maybe.
I thought nobody had, dude. I really didn't think I had like a big name in the scene, but my SoundCloud is at Alexvnder Official. If you want to follow, there are, I mentioned I purged all my other social media. So my Instagram, it's Alexvnder Official, but there's nothing on it as of right now. My Twitter, and this pains me that this is the name, but it's at Real Alexvnder. What a
You're the
such
real
a
one.
dumbass. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. I imagine just making all your socials match, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Idiot. But so that's my Twitter, is at Real Alexvnder. Like I said, there's nothing on those accounts, but my SoundCloud still has all of the uploads and the reposts, and everything is still on my SoundCloud that you'll be able to hear. And that is at Alexvnder Official. And that should be it. My YouTube isn't. There's like 10 subscribers on my YouTube, so I don't have like a custom URL. I don't know what the YouTube @ is, but you look up Alexvnder, it should pop up, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I'll put it in the show notes anyway for the sample pack.
That'll be perfect.
But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Really looking forward to those tunes of yours, and all the best with your future ventures. Yeah,
thank you once again. Thank you to everybody who's ever supported an Alexvnder tune. This comeback is for you, 100%.
All right.
So thank you.
Cheers, man.